Right now, I want to bring in New York State Democratic Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. Senator, welcome this morning. I want to start with the Mueller report. Democrats have said they want the full unredacted version, but you're a lawyer and you know that there's grand jury testimony in there, there's classified information in there. Would it be legal or even ethical to hand the whole thing over?
It would. In fact, Congress is allowed to look at confidential, top secret information. We have the ability to look at reports in closed session, meaning that nothing can be released to the public. So the report should be fully released to Congress. If there are parts of it that are protected material, grand jury material, or top secret material, we know how to protect that information. We are given access to top secret information regularly. It should be fully revealed.
I want to get your reaction to the House Oversight Committee now resorting to subpoenas to get information about security clearance. How do you make sure these subpoenas get obeyed? Because thus far, it basically looks like the White House is ignoring it.
Well, we have subpoena power. The purpose of our Constitution is to have three branches of government, and Congress is supposed to have oversight over the executive branch. It's our duty. And so to subvert not only our subpoena power, but the Constitution is outrageous. And if necessary, we will take it to court.
All right, I want to talk about this no on the disaster recovery package. You were one of the Senate Democrats who voted no yesterday simply because you want more money for Puerto Rico. Well, the president took to Twitter this morning and he attacked political leaders in Puerto Rico. He said they're, quote, grossly incompetent, spend the money foolishly or corruptly, and only take from the U.S. He also wrote the best thing that ever happened to Puerto Rico is Donald Trump. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think President Trump is a bully and a coward, and he is unwilling to protect the Puerto Rican people. He's misstated the facts. They have not received $91 billion. Less than half of that has been authorized and received. And in fact, when President Trump went down to Puerto Rico and threw paper towels at people who were desperate with no clean drinking water, no access to electricity at the time, it was such a disregard of not only their humanity, but his role as Commander-in-Chief and President of the United States. So I am so furious with how he has treated and disregarded and disrespected Puerto Ricans in this country. It is not okay what he has done, and we should be pushing back aggressively on his misrepresentation of the facts and also his callousness towards people who are still suffering. The reason I voted no is because he cut out the rebuilding money, the money they actually need to begin to rebuild the infrastructure of those islands.
All right, speaking of tweets, I know that you are running for president, and yesterday you put out this tweet that we need to abolish the Electoral College. I know that you're supporting an amendment to do that, but the argument against it is that big states would have a whole lot more influence than small states. Are you worried about that?
No, and there's a lot of ways that big states and small states balance power. In fact, every state has 2 senators, and it doesn't matter if they only have 600,000 people or 20 million people like New York State. You have the same 2 senators. So you have a very significant influence in legislation and governing and making sure your state has full representation. But in terms of my presidential campaign, I intend to campaign everywhere. The rural areas, the suburban areas, and the cities. I will go to the places that no one else bothers to go to. And that's what I've already done. I've been in the North Country in New Hampshire. I've been in the rural areas in Iowa. I've been to Michigan already, and Nevada already. And I will continue to do that because the truth is you are going to be president of the entire United States. You must represent everyone. But I do believe our Constitution is rooted in the notion it's one person, one vote. And for the outcomes of our election not to reflect actually the number of votes received by candidates, it seems really misplaced. So I think we need to look at the Electoral College and we need to reform it. And I really believe it should be one person, one vote.
I know when you travel the country, millions of people are telling you they're just trying to take care of their families. They want affordable child care. They want sick days. And why today is so important, it's Equal Pay Day. It is a day that symbolizes that it takes this many months into the new year for women to make the same amount of money as men. We are still 80 cents to a man's dollar, 61 cents for African American women, 53 cents for Latina women. What gives?
we still, as a country, are struggling to value women, and we see it across the board. We don't have equal pay for equal work, and if you're a woman of color, you will earn even less. The fact that we don't have national paid leave or affordable daycare or universal pre-K, basic structural changes that would make it possible for more women to work at their fullest economic potential. It's a drag on the U.S. economy. Not paying women equal pay for equal work means the economy is less strong. It means that for 40% of the workplace, they're not actually earning what they would be earning if they were a white man. It's a problem. It's a real issue. And so we as legislators and you as an advocate and someone who reveals the truth in the news, we have to keep speaking out about it because it's just not right. And it's hurting the U.S. economy.
I want to dig into affordable child care a bit more because we're basically the only developed nation that doesn't have affordable child care. I know on your website you actually have a plan. And the plan is to create affordable child care, and it's going to be paid by a combination of tax breaks and tax credits. I know that's going to cost a lot of money, but walk us through the benefits, because when we worry about all these women and parents not in the workforce, many of us simply can't afford to go to work.
Yeah, it's true. So today in America, daycare is too expensive for most families. Rural states, I was in North Dakota recently, they don't have enough daycare slots at all for families who want to be working full time. So we need to invest in affordable daycare and universal pre-K as a way to make sure our children get access to early childhood education before they start kindergarten, so they can be working with numbers and letters and books before they enter kindergarten, so they're ready. Every dollar you put into early childhood education has an impact of $11 in the lifetime of that child in terms of their economic potential. And so it's the best investment you could possibly make, the biggest bang for the buck. And women and men who have children want to be fully employed. Without affordable daycare, they can't be. And this is a bipartisan issue. I've been working on a bipartisan basis on affordable childcare for a long time. So it's a common sense reform that we should be able to vote on and actually pass into law.
For anyone who says they care about income inequality, child care and education are core focuses. I want to talk about a different kind of dollars for a moment, fundraising dollars. We just wrapped up the first quarter for fundraising. How's it going for your team?
It's going great. I can't tell you how excited I have been to travel this country and listen to people about their urgent issues. It's really healthcare, education, and jobs. And so people want to know, what are your solutions? And having the grassroots behind us to support us and to make sure their voices are heard really matters.
Before we go, I do want to ask you about Joe Biden. Aides and allies of Vice President Biden are pushing back to the allegations of inappropriate touching, saying that they're being made to sound more sinister. What is your take on all of this, especially because he hasn't been accused of any sort of harassment or assault, and there are many women out there who are victims of those things, and there's concern that these things are getting conflated, especially while culture is changing in the workplace?
Obviously, there are very different levels of allegations, but the ones that we've heard about so far, these women feel demeaned, and that's not okay. So if Vice President Biden does choose to run for president of the United States, I imagine this is a conversation he will be having to have with the American people.
Are you open to seeing people have those conversations or being removed from the opportunity to run?
I think if he decides to run, these are the conversations that the American people will want to have, to ask him his perspective. But one of the reasons why, Stephanie, I've worked on this issue for so long is we do need to value women. And I've been working on workplace issues specifically, making sure that when you become an employee, you can have an employment contract that doesn't force you into arbitration or force you to sign non-disclosure agreements if your boss is harassing you or assaulting you. That is a bipartisan effort I've been leading in the Senate with Republican leaders as well. And so there's common ground here. We just passed a bill unanimously to change the rules for sexual harassment in Congress, to make sure that people who come forward can have a process that doesn't make them wait 3 months, and that mandates that they keep their allegations in confidence. So we need more accountability, we need more transparency, and we need to value women. And it's going to be true whether you're talking about getting rid of sexual assault in the military or on a college campus, in Congress, or if you're running for president, to just make sure that you can talk to the American people about these issues, because they're very important.
Transparency would be one of our fastest ways to parity. Senator, thank you so much for joining me today on this all-important Equal Pay Day.
Thank you.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.